I am Sharon Holmes. Welcome to the She Shines podcast, where we are empowering you to embrace every facet of who you are, helping you to develop a beautiful balance in life, and encouraging women everywhere to shine. You can follow the She Shines podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to your favorite podcasts. Get in on the conversation. Join the sisterhood at facebook.com/groups/She Shines podcast. So get ready. The She Shines podcast starts right now. What's up, Shine Squad? We are back today, and you know what? Today I came to free you. I would not be surprised if some of us had a come to Jesus moment during this show, because today we are going to deal with friendships. Now, I always talk about sisterhood. I always talk about our need to be with other women who are like-minded and all of that. Well, today we got to deal with the other side of that. Now, when I was growing up, my mother used to say things like, birds of a feather flock together. And I guess I see her point, because there has to be something that brings two people together into a friendship. And especially if it stays together over a long period of time, there's got to be some bond. Like, there's got to be something in common that makes you all become friends and then stay friends. That might be that you simply have things in common. You enjoy doing the same things. You have the same hobbies. It might be that you work at the same place and you just need a work friend. And so that's what bonds you. Outside of work, we don't really deal, but inside the job, this is my work bestie. And those types of friendships are common. It might be that you do the same thing, or your children participate in the same activities. And so you find yourself sitting there with another mom, and you've got to pass the time because you can't go into dance class. So you find yourself making friends in a lot of different ways. But when they say that birds of a feather flock together, I think they refer to the thing that binds two people together. And it also could be that you're not exactly alike. You know, you complement each other in some type of way. Now, for myself, I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, people never believe me when I say I'm an introvert. So I have to say I'm an extroverted introvert. And so I generally end up with the same types of friends. I end up with friends who are very outgoing, because I'm not just generally, as a rule, very outgoing. I end up with friends who are very outgoing. Sometimes they have no filter, and that's funny too. But they are the ones who are not afraid to talk to strangers, and they will start up a conversation with anybody about anything. And the wonderful thing about that is, when I'm with those friends, I don't have to worry about keeping a conversation going with the outsiders. Like me and my bestie, we have no problem talking to each other. I have no problem talking to close friends. But sometimes when there's a ton of people, yeah, it gets a little overwhelming, especially for introverts. So when you have that outgoing friend, they tend to deflect attention, and that works perfectly for me. And then they usually have enough friendships that they are not mad at me when I am quiet, or when I am dealing with other stuff in life. Because, you know, we all have busy lives, and I know other people have busy lives as well. And we make time for our friendships. But at the same time, if you have a friend who is outgoing, they have a lot of friendships. They're not depending on you for their sole comfort or their sole friendship. And so it kind of frees you up a little bit. So those are my dirty little secrets about about the types of friends that I have. All great women. That is kind of the thing that bonds us, is that our personalities are not just alike. So then when we come together, we actually feed each other and feed off each other. So that happens to work really well for me. But what do you do when you have a friendship that is no longer working for you? So you came together for whatever reason, the kids in dance class, or you needed somebody to talk to at work, or they happen to sit next to you in church most of the time. And at first it was cool, you know, the small talk, all of that was good. And then over time, you've become friends, but now it feels more like it's draining you rather than feeding you. So what do you do, in those types of friendships or relationships? And the big question becomes, is this friendship toxic? Like, is it time to detoxify my friends list? Now, you know me. You know I have said this time and time again. I am not one to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So I do not advocate just cutting people off. But really, I'm talking about examining our relationships and seeing if they are serving a purpose for us. Yeah, I'm sure the friendship started out serving a purpose, whether that was just so you wouldn't be bored or lonely when you were wherever you were. Or maybe it served a purpose for the other person. Maybe you were good and they needed somebody. And that is all well and good. But here is the ugly truth. The ugly truth is that it's difficult to grow past your circle. The circle of friends, the circle of people that you are with all the time is very difficult to grow past that circle of folks. And so then it becomes important then for us to kind of take inventory every now and then and see whether our friendships are working. Why is that necessary? Because you may have sparked a friendship with someone 5 years ago, but I am willing to bank that you are a different person today than you were 5 years ago. And in order for your life to continue to grow and evolve, then sometimes friendships will also need to evolve or be eliminated. That's the nicest way I could put it. Like, don't just go cutting people off, but just really examining relationships to see if they're working for us. And I've come to find out it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is a bad person. It just may mean that they're not a good fit for you, or they're not a good fit for you right now. So today I'm just going to throw out, I'm going to have a little fun with this one. I'm going to throw out a few toxic traits that I have seen or experienced in some of my friendships. And I know you can probably tell the story better than I can. And so I'm going to give you a chance to do that in our Facebook group. So even while you're listening to the show or after the show, especially if you're driving, do not comment and drive. But if you're listening to the show and you're in a safe spot and you can make a comment, I want you to go to the FB group, comment, and let me know if you have had any of these types of friendships. And maybe I missed one or two and you just want to throw in like what types of toxic traits. You may want to throw in what types of toxic traits that you found in friendships in your past. Now, here's the warning. Don't be messy. Do not name names and stuff. I know. I know sometimes our petty game is strong. Do not name names. We're talking about the type of person or the type of trait. But really, I bet you have, one or two of these types of friends that I'm going to talk about. So let's start with the obvious. The obvious toxic friend is the bully. So she's the friend that ends up, long story short, hurting you worse than your enemies do. Now, she's smiling with you. She goes places with you. She spends time with you. But she will take any and every opportunity to point out your flaws, to make you feel bad, to tell you all of the things that you did wrong, that you should have done differently. And let me clue you in about the bully. She never apologizes. Never. So if you're looking for an apology from the bully, it will never happen because it is in her nature to dominate others. She usually only wants to be friends with people, maybe with you or with other people, because they serve her purpose. She needs a posse to make herself feel important. And so then the bully usually will go and pick out other women, other people whose personality isn't as strong as hers. And that way she can easily dominate the friendship and she can make it be what she wants it to be. So then she gets all of her needs met. But whether or not your needs are met are not an issue for her. Let me give you a tip. Please run for the hills. If your friend is a bully, this is the one that I'm going to give you a little leeway and say, yeah, you might want to back away from that friendship because this girl really means you no good. This type of friendship is totally toxic for a number of reasons. Any relationship that makes you, and I'm not talking about constructive criticism, but any relationship that tears you down and makes you feel less than is not a relationship that is worth pursuing or staying in. So I don't really see a saving grace in the type of relationship that you have with the bully. So you just may want to run for the hills. You may want to figure out a nice way to tell her, yeah, I gotta go. No hard feelings. I just got to do something different. So that's the obvious. If there's somebody that's hurting you consistently and repeatedly and not constructively, but just hurting you because that's what they do, yeah, that's a bully, and we don't want that. But then here's the next type of friend that I've noticed: the light switch. The light switch can turn your friendship on and off in zero point 0.2 seconds. Like 1 minute, she is blowing up your phone. She's right there. She wants to talk to you all day, every day. And then she drops you on your face when it's time for you to talk about something. You can't find her. When you call her, it's like the world ended and there's nobody else on the other line. She's not there. She doesn't pick up. There's no way to reach her when you want to reach her. I think probably it's because sometimes the light switch might be emotionally unavailable. She just may not be able to provide what we might need for her to provide. And so the only way to control that is to turn on and off the friendship. It's very cold. It's very on and off. You can't really decide. You're trying to examine, did I do something that hurt her? What happened that made her just all of a sudden stop? Well, you can't really own that on your own without talking to her about it, because sometimes you will find that friend that is a light switch. Have you had one? Have you seen one? And you really can't expect her to truly be there for you, regardless of how much you've been there for her. And it's not a dig against the other person. There may be good reasons why she has to turn on and off friendship. Maybe she just didn't learn how to do things differently. Maybe her other friendships have been really inconsistent. And so she really may not mean any harm, but yet being in a relationship or friendship with that type of person can become toxic if we're not careful and if we're not willing to have that conversation. Now, this next type of friend is actually quite fun. I call her the kryptonite. The kryptonite is kind of like, Superman. It's the one that kind of breaks down your resistance. I am laughing so hard because this is the friend who is extremely fun to be around because she brings out the very worst parts of you, the parts that you really try really hard to keep under wraps, like you try not to go off on people. This is the friend that will, let me use an 80s term, she will egg you on. She will instigate. She will do whatever she needs to do to make sure that other part that you try to keep under wraps comes out. And we all have that other side. I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but we all have that other side that we really do not like to show up. Because when that side shows up, she always shows out. So we try to keep her under wraps. But the kryptonite breaks down that little resistance that we have that keeps the other half of us under grips. And then she ends up poking and poking and poking until she wakes up the other side. Then we find ourselves doing some things that weren't on our top 10 lists of ways we wanted to behave. Yeah, it's terrible to admit, right? That it is kind of fun sometimes to be able to say what you want to say with no filter, but then the consequences of that are not good. So you want to be real careful if you have a friend who is kryptonite, because they always find that one button. They find that way to get you, to lure you into being what you're trying to overcome. And it's okay. Yeah, it's fun while it's happening. But then in the end, it really works against everything that you've tried to do. This is the one who feeds your petty monster. She will feed that thing. She will help you find real good reasons for your unreasonable behavior. So please be careful with the kryptonite. How do you know that this friend is kryptonite? Because this friend not only gossips, but she tears down other people in order to build you or her up. So there's a difference in let's just talk about what happened, and everybody else has to be torn down in order to make us feel better. This is the one who really encourages you to hold grudges, things like that. Yeah, that's kryptonite. Those are character things that we don't even want to show up. But this friend is the one who tends to bring that out in us. So it's really probably as much about us as it is about that friend. It is the two people coming together that makes it toxic. So if you have a friend that is kryptonite to you, you want to be very careful. Again, may not want to get rid of the friend, but you may want to monitor how much influence you allow that friend to have. Tell me that you do not have this type of friend. This one I call the she loves me not. This is that passive aggressive friend. Maybe you all had a disagreement. Maybe there was something that she didn't like. But instead of being an adult and talking about it and saying, hey, when you said this, I felt like that, or this hurt my feelings, or whatever the case may be, she tends to act out in passive aggressive ways. So she'll make comments that sound like they're harmless, but the edge that she puts in her voice lets you know there's more to it than on the surface. This is what some people tend to call nice nasty. They're nasty, but they do it in a nice way. Very passive aggressive. This is a hard personality type to deal with because you're not sure where you stand. If somebody hated me and I knew they hated me, I'd know exactly how to deal with them. If they loved me and I knew they loved me, I know exactly how to deal with them. But the she loves me not friend, they're too unstable. You never know where you are. And if you are not on even ground, how do you know how to move forward in that friendship? So that one is a really kind of difficult one for me to deal with. So if you guys have any tips or tricks that makes that easier, drop it in the comment. Please help your sister come to Jesus, because that one right there is tough for me. Now, here is one that is tough for a lot of people. This is the one-upper. Whatever you do, she has done that and something greater. Wherever you vacation, oh, she's been there, but then she's been out of the country and she spent 2 weeks backpacking through Europe, and she went with this person and she name drops, and whatever you do, she's going to do that and she's going to one up you. She's going to always make sure that you understand that you will never, ever be as dope as she is. Like, this is that friend. Look, I told you don't post any names. Please don't do that. But I know you can identify. If you have had a one-upper as a friend, will you please drop me an emoji and let me know that you hear what I'm saying? Because it is difficult sometimes to have a friendship where you can't be free to be yourself because you always feel like there is competition there. And I think, like they say, there's no honor among thieves. There should be no competition among friends. We really should come together to lift each other up. You might be doing the same thing that I'm doing, and that's fine. That's great. I'm going to cheer you on. I want you to do well. If you do it better than I do, then I want you to help me to know how to do it better. I really don't see a space or a reason that we have to have this whole competitive thing. And I think sometimes women come into friendships and I really don't even think it originates with us. Sometimes I think the things that we encounter are an extension of what other people have said. And other people have said that women can't get along. They can't be friends. They're too catty and they claw each other. And maybe that has been their experience, but that does not have to be your experience. I happen to be in friendships with women. And yes, I've had some times where I've been clawed. I've had some times where I'm sure I did the clawing, but I have been blessed to have friendships where we build each other up, where we're just good, where we're a breath of fresh air for each other. And I do know that that's possible. So we don't have to feel like there has to be competition because we are women. And especially when you're, single and you're dating, we're not competing for this guy, Either he's going to like you or he's not going to like you. He's going to like me or he's not going to like me. And if he's the one that likes us both and he causes a problem between that friendship, then he's the problem, not the friendship. So I really don't see a point in having this whole competitive thing going between women and friendships. So the one upper, yeah, I know a lot of us probably have that type of friend. So let me know if that sounds familiar to you. Now, this next type of friend is the my way or the highway friend. So the my way or the highway friend really holds you kind of hostage. At any moment, if you don't do something exactly right, then you're just done. We're not friends anymore. It's either we are together or we are divorced as friends. Like, really? It's not that serious. I just ate the orange popsicle. I didn't know you wanted it, or I would have given it to you. That type of friend right there, oh yeah, we would have a little bit of reckoning. But seriously, what it really is that they don't allow the friendship to evolve. So yes, you might have started out being friends and the friendship might have looked like XYZ during year 1. Well, by year 3, your lives have changed a little bit. Maybe you're working more overtime. Maybe you have children, or maybe one of you has gotten married, and this friend does not want the relationship or the friendship to ever change. They always want it to look like it did from the beginning. And so they end up holding you hostage and making you feel like if I change anything, if I do anything different, then I've got to just let go of this friend. And I'm going to tell you, if that is the case, then let it go. Let it go. If they're meant to be your friend and if they value you, they will come back and they will allow your friendship to grow, because we as people are growing every day. It would be ridiculous for me to expect my friendship with my childhood friend to look the same now as it did 40 years ago. Really? We were in kindergarten. So it's got to look differently. Our lives have changed and you cannot be held captive like that. And so that my way or the highway mentality, it probably will be a good idea to have a conversation and say, hey, I know that you feel like our friendship is XYZ, but I'm really needing a little bit more of this or that or the other thing. There are tons of ways that we can reach out to make a friendship better. Not necessarily, again, that you have to give up the friendship. You just need to be aware that this is the type of friend that you have. Okay, I'm going to deal with 2 more. This one is the isolator. Thou shalt have no other friends before me, because I am a jealous friend. So you can be friends with this person and they will be, I promise you, they will be the best of friends to you. They will do more for you than any other friend, but it is all to secure their space as number 1. Let me help you identify the isolator real quick. You and the isolator are out at an event. Another woman walks up and starts talking. The isolator, within 10 seconds, has found a way to deflect the conversation to make sure there's no connection between you and the other person. The isolator will always find something wrong with somebody else that you think is a nice person. They'll tell you all of the flaws. They'll tell you, well, she is cool, but You heard that before. That's the isolator. And it is because they're insecure in that friendship relationship. That insecurity stems with them, not with you. You can't fix that. No matter what you do in that friendship, chances are they'll never feel secure enough to believe that you can be great friends with them and have other friends. And so they'll tend to try to end your other friendships. So then they're the only one and you will need them as much as they need you. That's what the isolator does. Okay. All right. Now, I got to be heavy, right? So I'm going to drop this final friend. Final friend that is toxic that we need to look out for and deal with is the inner enemy. Sometimes our most toxic friendship is with ourselves because we're the friend who, when we dress up and look real pretty, we'll hear that voice in our head that says, oh, this is not right, or I'm too fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too this, or I'm not enough of that. We got to shut that friendship down. This relationship has to change. No, you cannot unfriend yourself. You cannot divorce yourself. But what you can do is begin to change the relationship that you have with yourself. Because again, it's not that other people are always toxic. It is when the combination comes together. Bleach is a great cleanser. It is a great purifier. They use it in hospitals. We use it in homes. Ammonia, wonderful product. Put bleach and ammonia together, it will send you to the ER. Please don't do that. Don't do an experiment. This is not the time to take Sharon literally and decide you're going to be Bill Nye the Science Guy. Just take my word for it. Bleach and ammonia don't mix. And sometimes that's how it is with us. It is that we have our own characteristics. And when we mix with someone else who has the anti-serum to that, it may not form a good combination and it makes us become toxic within ourselves. And so that's what we need to look out for, I think, more than anything, because the last thing we need to do is fight ourselves. And I know I've had 3 or 4 toxic friends myself throughout my lifetime. I know you've had some too. So feel free, if I have missed any of them, to go to Facebook and tell me the type of toxic friends that you've run into or that you've heard about. So if you have friends like that, your question is probably, well, what do I do? If you have the kryptonite, if that's your best friend, if you're trying to salvage a friendship with the light switch, or, you're trying to deal with the she loves me not. God help you if you're trying to deal with the one upper or the my way or the highway. What about the isolator? Yeah, I know you've got friends like that. I know you've had friends like that, but what do you do now? As I said in the beginning of the show, number one, we don't want to just throw people out because I think people are too valuable for that. So maybe it would help to think about what made you become friends in the first place. Every bad friendship didn't start out bad. What is that thing that drew you together in the first place? Think about that and think about whether that is worth keeping. If that's worth salvaging, then you may want to put in the work that it takes to grow that friendship to where it needs to be. That way you do not have to end what is a wonderful friendship going bad because it's not good right now. Think about whether people threw you away on a bad day. That would be awful because you know what? Our good days so far outweigh our bad days. And every now and then we're all entitled to one. So I really do think that it is worth looking at the very beginning. What drew you to this person? What things you guys have in common? What are the great things that they add to your life? And if those things are worth keeping, then it would be worth having a conversation with your friend and trying to see if you can make some changes on both of your ends. Because I found out that sometimes it is not just the other person. Sometimes it is us too. And our behavior allows or affects their behavior. So it may be worth salvaging that friendship. If it is not, then still you want to maintain your integrity and your kindness. How would you want someone to break up with you? Give them that kindness, give them that courtesy, have a conversation with them. Don't make them wonder what happened to you all of a sudden. Just let them know, that you're in a different place in your life right now and you need to take a break from the friendship. Whatever that conversation looks like, it's worth having with them, whether you decide to keep them as a friend or if you don't. And then here's the other thing that I thought about when you're trying to decide what to do about a toxic friendship. And I guess this comes from the helper part of me. Could it be that you're in their life for a reason? Maybe you're there to help them grow. It doesn't always have to be that you're enabling their bad behavior or that what you do allows them to do what they do. Bullies can only do what they do because other people take it. And so there's a difference in enabling someone and then loving them through what they're going through so you can help them to be better. That, again, it requires communication. It requires us to love someone enough and care about someone enough to want all of the good parts of them to flourish and to help them grow. I think that's probably the goal of friendship, period. If you're in friendships and relationships where you're not growing, then that thing, whatever it is toxic for you. Because as I said in the beginning, it is very difficult for us to outgrow our circle. So listen, I've got to get out of here. I cannot believe that 30 minutes passed by this quickly. I guess time flies when you are having fun, right? And so until next time, I want to encourage you to love your friends and to help them grow. Because with friends like that, who needs enemies, girl? You have been listening to the She Shines podcast, where we are empowering you to embrace every facet of who you are, helping you to develop a beautiful balance in life, and encouraging women everywhere to shine. If you are a woman who shines and you want to see someone else shine too, join the sisterhood at facebook.com/groups/She Shines podcast, and you can share the shine. To get instant updates on our podcast, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, or Spotify. I'm your host, Sharon Holmes. Until next time, shine on.